The last thing I remember telling him is I loved him.
A tragic turn just days before his 15th birthday.
He gave me a call and told me that that Dad found JoJo's body.
Tonight, police ramping up their investigation after a teenager's body is found outside of a Denver rec center.
Still numb. I had a couple breakdowns, but I'm trying to get through it.
A Loveland teacher killed by falling debris on I-25. Peers remembering her life and trying to make sense of the bizarre chain of events that led to her death.
Today begins really an exciting chapter, I think, for the Denver Broncos.
And the Broncos' new leaders lay out their plans for bringing the Lombardi back to Denver.
We look forward to joining all the Broncos fans in celebrating a winning season.
Good evening, and thank you for watching Denver 7 News on Local 3. I'm Jessica Porter.
And I'm Amy Wattis. Denver police are making a plea to the public tonight, asking for your help after a 14-year-old boy was found murdered near a recreation center in southwest Denver on Monday.
Today would have been Josiah's JoJo Aragon's 15th birthday. 2 days ago, he was found dead near a baseball field at Southwest Recreation Center. Police are now investigating his death as a homicide, but still have no details about how he was killed.
I spoke with the man who raised the teen for several years, and he's pleading for answers so the boy's family can have closure.
The last thing I remember telling him is I loved him and to keep in touch.
The 4th of July was the last time Adrian Martinez says he saw the young man he helped raise for many years. 14-year-old Josiah Aragon, who goes by the name JoJo. Little did he know that would be the last time he'd see JoJo. Denver police say the teen's body was found near the baseball diamond at Southwest Recreation Center around 3 Monday, just days before his birthday, which is today. Investigators say someone passing through on a nearby trail called police. Martinez says he has no idea who would hurt JoJo or why.
A gentleman in a car had picked him up earlier that day or the evening before.
But that's all Martinez knows, and he's asking whoever did this to come forward.
You're gonna get found. It's gonna happen. I suggest, go down to the police department, turn yourself in.
Investigators are also asking the public to speak up, and they are offering a reward of $2,000.
Anyone who is in the area at that time or has any information that could help us to identify and hold accountable the people who murdered JoJo, we encourage them to call Metro Denver Crime Stoppers at 720-913-7867.
They're also asking people in the area to check their surveillance cameras, hoping they can find clues that will help lead to an arrest. Meanwhile, what Martinez says makes this even harder, he says JoJo's life was starting to get on the right track, and he did what he could to get him there.
They might have been my stepkids, but at the same, at one time, but at the same time, it's still my son. I still look at him as a son. I still was a father figure, try to talk him out of doing stupid things.
And now Martinez wonders if he could have done more while trying to process what happened at the same time.
I'll be honest with you, I'm still numb. Still numb. I had a couple breakdowns, but I'm trying to get through that.
Police are still investigating the motive in JoJo's murder. We're also waiting to hear back from the medical examiner on the exact cause and manner of death.
We're learning more details tonight about Megan Arneson, the 32-year-old Loveland woman killed Monday night by falling debris from an overpass on I-25. CSP previously said a semi was carrying an excavator when the arm of the excavator hit a bridge that caused cement from the bridge to fall and crash through Arneson's windshield. Tonight, loved ones tell Denver 7 Megan was a beloved preschool teacher and devoted single mother. Denver 7's CB Cotton joins us now. CB, what else have you learned?
Megan Arneson was a teacher and an assistant director at this Loveland preschool behind me. Her colleague tells me the day this tragedy occurred, Arneson had taken off work to spend the day with her son, and they had gone to a water park in Denver. They were heading home when the crash happened. Her colleague told me Arneson had worked here at the Children's Workshop Early Learning Center in Loveland for the past 5 years. People also tell me she was a talented educator who spent all of her free time with her 10-year-old. An investigation into the crash that killed Arneson is ongoing, but we know from the Colorado State Patrol Monday evening the 32-year-old was driving behind a semi-truck hauling construction equipment when the semi hit the overpass, sending cement into Arneson's windshield.
She made all of my days better. When she was gone and had the day off on Monday, I kept thinking how much I missed her and how I was just excited to see her on Tuesday.
And the preschool here where Arneson worked, it's been closed since everything happened. Tomorrow, the school will reopen with grief counselors on site for the children. We're going to have much more on this story coming up on Denver 7 News at 10. For Denver 7 News on Local 3, I'm CB Cotton.
Thanks, CB. Such a sad story. Now in Weld County, 2 teenagers were killed overnight in a single car crash. State Patrol says 5 teens were in the car during the time of the crash just east of Weld County Road 13 and Colorado Boulevard. An 18-year-old driver and 1 17-year-old passenger died on scene. 3 other teens were transported to the hospital. The cause of the crash is still under investigation.
A candlelight vigil is being held tonight to remember 2 teenagers killed by a suspected drunk driver in Castle Rock. Colton Bellamy and Audrey Todd died Friday night when troopers say a drunk driver crashed into them. 2 other teenagers are in the hospital. All 4 were 17-year-olds about to begin their senior year at Castleview High School. The suspected driver is a 26-year-old man. He's facing several charges, including DUI and vehicular homicide.
A Denver Police Department sergeant was arrested this morning for allegedly luring a child over the internet. DPD says 45-year-old Timothy Hyatt started communicating on various social media platforms with a person he believed to be a 14-year-old girl. Hyatt allegedly made many sexual explicit advances toward the young teen and is now charged with a felony. Hyatt has worked for the Denver Police Department since 2005. He's now on non-paid leave.
Going into summer break, Denver Public Schools said they were working on ways to fortify safety for students. At the start of the fall semester, some of that work will be apparent. According to DPS, all of their schools will now have secured doors that will trigger an alarm when an intruder enters from the outside or when they are propped open for too long by school staff and students. Office staff will be immediately notified when these instances occur and will have immediate access to cameras that show the areas surrounding the doors. DPS also says they've placed 900 cameras over the summer and are adding 1,200 more cameras to their campuses for the start of the school year.
If you keep bad things out of your building, you're ahead of the game. And so we've really invested a lot of time in access control and monitoring our entrances to our buildings and single point of entry to emphasize a secure perimeter and funneling everybody in and having checkpoints throughout that process.
Coming up tonight on Denver 7 News at 10, we'll tell you about the additional safety measures the Boulder Valley and Cherry Creek school districts are implementing to keep students safe.
The EPA is hosting a webinar this evening about facilities that emit harmful chemicals that could cause cancer, and one of those facilities is in Lakewood. Terumo BCT uses the chemical to clean medical equipment. The EPA says it's working with state and local agencies to reduce the community's exposure risk. The agency says Terumo BTC is not violating air pollution requirements, but adds it will determine if additional requirements are needed.
A new era for the Broncos has begun, and the new ownership group is officially here in Colorado. Today we got to hear for the first time other members of the Walton Penner ownership group. Every member said today that their priority is to continue building upon the championship legacy created by Pat Bowlen and fostered by Joe Ellis. And it's football first for Rob Walton and Greg Penner.
Following in the footsteps of Pat Bowlen and Joe Ellis is no small feat. Their leadership has meant success on the field, impact in the community, and of course, Super Bowl championships.
Pat Bowlen built a great legacy and a record of winning and championships. We plan to do everything we can to build on the championship tradition of this great organization.
Nick Rothschild will have more in sports with details on the Broncos' new owners, and you can also find our other Broncos stories on thedenverchannel.com.
Well, we are getting a look at plans for a new development near Ball Arena. Kroenke Sports Entertainment submitted these renderings of the development to the city. About 12 million square feet of land around the arena would be turned into homes, shops, offices, hotels, and education areas. There's also plans to connect Denver's sports venues and build a promenade with pedestrian, bike, and vehicle lanes. The plan still needs final approval from the city.
Middle 90s today. Tomorrow looks like it's going to be a record breaker.
And the heat's turning up on former President Trump. Now his business dealings are under the microscope.
Denver's reputation as a home buying hotspot is changing.
You're seeing about 40% of homes dropping their prices.
Why the city just made the list for most vulnerable markets in the country.
There are a lot more opportunities than we've seen in the last several years, by far.